Aesop stories. Number 21. The story of Farmer Fred and a chilly snake. In a small village, there lived a kind farmer named Fred. One cold winter day, while walking through his fields, Fred found a snake lying still and frozen on the ground. The snake was so cold that it couldn't move. Farmer Fred felt sorry for the snake. He thought, "This poor snake will not survive the cold." Being a kind-hearted man, he picked up the snake and put it inside his jacket to warm it up. He hoped that the warmth from his body would help the snake revive. As the snake got warmer, it started to move again. Farmer Fred was happy to see the snake come back to life. He thought he had done a good deed by saving the snake from the cold. But as soon as the snake was fully warm, it remembered its nature. Without warning, it turned and bit Farmer Fred on the hand. The bite was deep and poisonous. Fred felt a sharp pain and realized he was in trouble. "Oh no," cried Farmer Fred. "I tried to help you, and this is how you repay me." He felt hurt and betrayed by the snake's action. As he fell to the ground, he said with his last breath, "I have learned a sad lesson. Not everyone appreciates kindness." The snake slithered away, leaving Farmer Fred alone in the field. The villagers found Fred and were saddened by his fate. They had all known him as a kind and helpful man who always tried to do good. The story of Farmer Fred and the snake spread through the village. It became a lesson to all about the nature of gratitude and kindness. The villagers learned that sometimes, no matter how kind you are, not everyone will be grateful or return your kindness. The children in the village were especially affected by the story. They had always admired Farmer Fred for his kindness to animals and people. They learned that it's important to be careful and not to trust everyone blindly, even if you want to help. Farmer Fred's story reminded everyone in the village to be kind, but also to be wise. They realized that kindness is important, but it's also important to understand the nature of who you are helping. From then on, the villagers remembered Farmer Fred as a man with a big heart. They also remembered the lesson he learned the hard way. They continued to help each other and be kind, but they also stayed cautious, especially when dealing with situations where the outcome could be uncertain. The tale of Farmer Fred and the chilly snake became a well-known story in the village, passed down through generations as a reminder of the complexities of kindness and gratitude. Number 22. The story of Daisy, the deer and her little fawn. In a lush green forest, there lived a gentle deer named Daisy and her young fawn, Danny. Daisy was known for her speed and grace, and Danny admired his mother very much. One sunny day, as they were resting under a shady tree, Danny had a question for his mother. "Mom," Danny said, "you're bigger and faster than a dog. You have strong legs for running and antlers for defense. So why do you get scared when you hear a dog's bark?" Danny was curious because he saw his mother as the strongest and bravest in the forest. Daisy smiled at her son's innocence and replied, "My dear Danny, it's true that I have all these strengths, but when I hear a dog bark, something inside me feels scared. No matter how strong I am, the fear takes over, and I feel like running away as fast as I can." Danny listened carefully. He couldn't understand why his brave mother would be scared of a dog. To him, his mother was fearless. Daisy continued, "Even though I have the ability to protect myself, fear is a strong feeling. It's not about how fast or strong you are. It's about what you feel inside. When I hear a dog, I remember times when dogs chased me, and that fear comes back." Danny thought about what his mother said. He realized that being strong and fast didn't always mean you weren't afraid. He looked at his mother with new understanding and respect. He understood that everyone, even his brave mother, could feel fear. Daisy explained to Danny that it was okay to feel scared sometimes. Courage, she said, isn't about never feeling scared. It's about what you do even when you are scared. Sometimes running away to be safe is the bravest thing you can do. From that day on, Danny saw his mother in a different light. He learned that bravery comes in many forms, and that it's okay to feel scared. He realized that courage wasn't just about facing danger, but also about knowing when to avoid it. Daisy and Danny continued to live in the forest, facing each day together. Daisy taught Danny how to be cautious and to listen to his instincts. And Danny grew up understanding that true courage was about facing your fears and making smart choices. The story of Daisy the deer and her little fawn Danny became a well-known tale in the forest. It taught the other animals that bravery didn't mean you weren't scared. It meant knowing how to handle your fear. And for Daisy and Danny, their bond grew stronger as they lived and learned together in the peaceful forest. Number 23. The story of Benny the bear and Freddie the fox. In a large, dense forest, there lived many animals, including Benny the bear and Freddie the fox. Benny the bear was known for his big size and strength, but he often talked about how kind and respectful he was towards humans. One sunny day, Benny was walking through the forest and talking loudly to anyone who would listen. "I am the most caring animal in this forest," he boasted. "I have so much respect for humans that I would never even touch a human, not even if they were not alive anymore." Many animals heard Benny's words and nodded, but Freddie the fox was not so sure. Freddie was known for being clever and a little cheeky. He had a quick mind and often saw things differently than others. Freddie, with a sly smile, walked up to Benny and said, "Oh, Benny, it's good that you respect humans so much. But wouldn't it be better if you showed respect to the living rather than those who are no longer here?" Benny looked confused. He didn't expect this kind of response from Freddie. Freddie continued, "You say you wouldn't touch a human who is not alive, but what about the living? Shouldn't we respect them too, by not causing them any harm?" Benny thought about Freddie's words. He realized that Freddie had a point. Respect for others, whether they are humans or animals, should be for the living. It's easy to say you respect someone who is not there, but true respect is shown in how you treat those who are alive. Benny felt a little embarrassed, but thanked Freddie for giving him something important to think about. He realized that true kindness and respect are shown through actions, not just words. From that day on, Benny the bear became more thoughtful about his actions towards others. He understood that real respect and kindness are about how you treat everyone around you, every day. Freddie the fox, with his clever words, had taught Benny an important lesson. He showed Benny and the other animals in the forest that it's not just about what you say, but what you do that truly shows your character. The story of Benny the bear and Freddie the fox spread throughout the forest. The animals learned that it's easy to make claims about respect and kindness, but living those values is what really matters. Benny and Freddie became good friends, often seen walking and talking together in the forest. Benny became known not just for his strength, but also for his genuine respect for all living beings. And Freddie continued to share his clever insights, helping others see things from a different perspective. Their friendship became a symbol in the forest of how understanding and wisdom can come from listening to others and considering their views. The story of their conversation reminded all the animals in the forest about the importance of true respect and kindness. Number 24. The Tale of Sally the Swallow and Charlie the Crow. In a peaceful meadow, there lived many birds, among them Sally the Swallow and Charlie the Crow. Sally had shiny, colorful feathers that sparkled in the sunshine. Charlie, on the other hand, had plain, dark feathers. One bright spring day, Sally and Charlie began to argue about whose feathers were better. Sally, proud of her bright plumage, said, Look at my beautiful feathers. They are so colorful and pretty. Surely they are the best in all the meadow." Charlie listened and then spoke up. "Your feathers may be pretty, Sally, but are they useful? My feathers may not be as colorful as yours, but they are strong and keep me warm during the cold winter. That's what really matters." Sally hadn't thought about it that way. She only thought about how her feathers looked in the spring sunshine. Charlie continued, "Your feathers are nice for the spring, but my feathers are useful all year round. They help me survive the cold and stay strong." The other birds listened to their argument and started to think about what Charlie had said. They realized that while Sally's feathers were beautiful, they didn't offer much protection against the cold and harsh weather. Sally felt a bit embarrassed but learned an important lesson. She realized that while her feathers looked nice, they were not as practical as Charlie's. She learned that it's not just about how things look on the outside, but also about how useful and strong they are on the inside. From that day on, Sally stopped boasting about her feathers and started to appreciate the usefulness of Charlie's feathers. She learned that true beauty is not just about appearance, but also about being strong and practical, especially in tough times. Charlie's words also taught the other birds a valuable lesson. They understood that it's important to appreciate what they have, even if it's not the most beautiful. They learned that being strong and practical is often more important than just looking good. The story of Sally the Swallow and Charlie the Crow spread throughout the meadow. The birds learned to appreciate each other's qualities, whether they were beautiful or practical. They understood that each bird, no matter what their feathers looked like, had something special to offer. Sally and Charlie became good friends, and their argument about feathers became a lesson for all the birds in the meadow. They learned that it's important to be strong and useful, especially when times are tough. And they learned that fair-weather friends, who are only there when things are good, are not as valuable as true friends who are there through all seasons. Numvui 25. The Story of the Trembling Mountain and the Tiny Mouse. In a vast land with many villages, there was a huge mountain known to all. This mountain, named Mount Thunder, was tall and majestic, and people often came from far and wide to admire its beauty. One day something unusual happened. Mount Thunder began to shake and tremble, making loud groaning noises that echoed through the valleys. The villagers from all around were startled. They had never heard such sounds from Mount Thunder before. Rumors spread quickly, with people saying that something enormous was going to happen. "Maybe a giant is waking up inside the mountain," said one villager. "Or perhaps it's a volcano about to erupt," said another. The anticipation and fear grew day by day. People gathered from all the surrounding villages to see what would happen. They stood at a safe distance, watching and waiting. The mountain continued to tremble and groan, and the tension among the crowd increased. Everyone was expecting something big, something dramatic and terrifying. After several days of suspense, the moment finally came. There was a small crack on the side of the mountain, and from it, out came a tiny mouse. The mouse looked around, a bit confused by all the people staring in disbelief. The crowd was stunned. After all the loud noises and shaking, all that came out was a tiny mouse. Some people couldn't believe it and thought there must be more to come. But that was it. The mountain became still again, and the mouse scurried away into the grass. The villagers started to laugh and talk among themselves. "All this fear for a tiny mouse," said one. "We thought it was something huge and dangerous," said another. They realized they had let their imaginations run wild, creating a huge spectacle out of a small event. The story of the trembling Mount Thunder and the tiny mouse spread far and wide. It became a lesson to the people not to make a big fuss over small things. They learned that sometimes what seems like a big problem might turn out to be something very small and not worth worrying about. The children in the villages especially loved the story. They would play near the mountain, pretending to be scared, and then laugh when one of them popped out as the tiny mouse. The story taught them not to be scared of things before they knew what they really were. From then on, whenever the villagers heard strange noises or saw something unusual, they would remember the story of Mount Thunder and the tiny mouse. They learned to wait and see what happens before jumping to conclusions. Mount Thunder remained a popular place to visit, but now it was also known for its famous story, and the tiny mouse, unaware of the impact it had, continued to live its life, a small creature with a big story. The villagers would often say, "Don't make much ado about nothing," reminding themselves and others not to make a big deal out of small things.